They saw you before they even understood you. In the quiet of the night, when their defenses were down and their masks slipped off, God showed them something they couldn't ignore. And chosen one, it shook them. You weren't trying to prove anything. You weren't even there physically. But in their dream, your presence came through so strongly, so unmistakably divine. It reached into the hidden corners of their soul and rattled what was sleeping. They woke up sweating, trembling, confused, and most of all, afraid. Because now, they couldn't unsee what had been revealed. They couldn't deny what they had felt in their spirit, even if their mind tried to suppress it. God used a dream to show them the truth, who you really are. This wasn't just a dream. It was a spiritual confrontation, a divine unveiling. And it wasn't about them. It was about you and the level of authority, light, and calling that you carry. Most people have no idea the weight of what rests on your life. They judge you based on what they see, what they think they know. But in the spirit, your frequency is not up for debate. You are marked. Heaven recognizes you. And because of that, the spirit realm reacts whether people are conscious of it or not. You've probably noticed it by now. How strangers stare a little too long. How people you've never harmed suddenly turn cold, envious, or defensive around you. How even when you're silent, others seem to pick a fight with your energy. And the more aligned you become with your purpose, the more intense it gets. That's because something about you disturbs what's dormant in others. You shine a light into rooms they were content to keep dark. But in the dream world, where their soul can't lie, they see you, chosen one. What they saw in that dream was you stripped of all earthly limitation. They saw the version of you that heaven sees, not the quiet one they overlook, not the humble servant they underestimate. They saw the royal, armored, radiant spirit you truly are, and it terrified them. Because they sensed that you were untouchable. Not in the prideful sense, not because you're better, but because your purpose is sealed. Your steps are ordered, and your authority is not something they can manipulate, diminish, or control. See, most people don't expect someone like you to carry that kind of power. You're too soft-spoken, too kind, too giving. You don't throw your weight around. You don't parade your gifts. But in the dream, God took away their illusions. And what they saw was truth. They saw your light overshadowing theirs. They saw your presence commanding attention in the room. They saw angels walking beside you. They heard your voice when you hadn't even spoken. That's why they woke up disturbed. Because suddenly, all their assumptions about you no longer made sense, and maybe they didn't tell you. Maybe they never will. But you noticed the shift, the awkwardness in their energy, the fear behind their sarcasm, the hesitation in their compliments, and you wondered, what changed? Here's your answer. They dreamed about you. God showed them what they couldn't see while awake. And even if they try to play it off or rationalize it, something in them knows now. They know you're not ordinary. They know they're dealing with someone who walks with divine backing. You weren't even trying. That's the wild part. You didn't manipulate the dream. You didn't even know it was happening. But that's how God works with His chosen ones. He will defend your name in rooms you've never entered. He will confirm your anointing through visions, encounters, and dreams so that even your enemies have no excuse. They may still choose to reject you, but they know. And that knowing becomes a burden they carry in silence. This is why some people suddenly pull away from you after getting close. It's not that you changed. It's that God gave them a glimpse, and they realized they couldn't fake it around you anymore. They couldn't compete, couldn't deceive, couldn't stay hidden. Your light exposed something, and instead of leaning in, they ran. But don't take it personally. This is spiritual. This is protection. And more than that, it's confirmation. You see, chosen one, the world often confuses meekness for weakness. But heaven knows the weight of your spirit. God knows how long you've been carrying this mantle. And He is making sure that even those who would never acknowledge it to your face know it deep in their soul. That's why He gave them the dream. And maybe they saw you preaching to thousands. Maybe they saw you clothed in white, walking through fire untouched. Maybe they saw your hands healing, or your words cutting through demonic forces. Maybe they saw angels standing guard as you moved through darkness, completely unafraid. However it looked, the message was the same. This one is not to be messed with. This one belongs to God. And what's even deeper is this: sometimes these dreams happen before you even step fully into your calling, before you see what they saw. And you're left wondering, why are they reacting like this? What do they see that I don't? And the truth is, they saw your future self. They saw your spiritual identity ahead of schedule. And it scared them because they realized, even without trying, you are already a threat to the plans of darkness. You don't have to be loud to be felt. You don't have to show off to be recognized. In fact, you can be minding your business, living your life, and still God will cause your name to echo in someone's spirit until they can't ignore it. That's what it means to be chosen. It means your life carries weight in ways that can't always be explained, but can definitely be felt. So don't second-guess the shift you sense in people. Don't overthink the weird tension, the sudden distance, the strange reactions. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't change the vibe, they just got a revelation, and it messed with their illusion. They saw you for real, in the realm where truth can't be hidden. And they woke up, trembling. You, chosen one, are walking confirmation. Whether in waking life or in dreams, your essence is undeniable. You are being revealed with or without your permission. And the dream they had, that was just the beginning. It's no accident that the truth about you had to be shown in a dream. God knew they wouldn't accept it face to face. He knew they wouldn't be able to handle the revelation in waking life, where pride could shield their heart and ego could filter their perception. So, He waited until they were most vulnerable, when their conscious mind had shut off and their soul was laid bare. In that sacred space, beyond words and defenses, God unmasked who you truly are. And in that space, they didn't just see you. They felt your frequency. You have to understand. Chosen one, the dream was not for them to feel good. It was for you to be protected, confirmed, and set apart. Spiritual identity doesn't always come through titles or recognition. Sometimes it's carved into you silently, in the spirit. And people can sense it before you even speak. This is why you've always noticed a strange response from people, even as a child. Some were drawn to you without reason. Others hated you without cause. It was never about your appearance or personality. It was always about your aura. In the dream realm, there are no masks, no filters, and no lies can survive. God uses dreams as one of his oldest tools to warn, to reveal, and to elevate. Remember Joseph? He saw his future in a dream before he had any clue how painful the journey would be. And when he told others, especially those closest to him, they didn't rejoice. They plotted. Because that's what happens when a divine identity is revealed too early. That's why God sometimes reveals you to them before he even reveals you to yourself. Because in the spiritual realm, your soul already carries a royal imprint, even if your life hasn't caught up yet. And so, these dreams, they become spiritual disclosures. Think of them as heavenly leaks. God is giving notice to the forces around you, letting them know this one is covered. This one has been marked. Don't touch this one lightly. And those who receive the dream, whether friend or foe, feel the weight of that revelation. They may not understand every symbol or moment from what they saw, but their spirit understands it perfectly. Some dreamt of you walking with fire around you, but not being burned. Others saw you glowing, or dressed in garments of gold, or surrounded by unexplainable peace in the middle of chaos. Some saw you standing before crowds, speaking words that shook the earth. Others saw you standing still, yet commanding more respect than any room had ever seen. And every single one of those dreams was God's way of revealing your authority, even if the dream was cloaked in metaphor or mystery. The feeling it left behind was undeniable awe, fear, and respect. But here's what's most important for you to understand. Dreams aren't random. They are spiritual data points, divine communications, and God does not waste his messages. If he allowed someone to dream of you, especially someone who's spoken against you, overlooked you, or doubted you, he's making a statement. And that statement is not just for them. It's also for you. It's so you stop second-guessing who you are. So you stop trying to fit in places you've outgrown. So you realize that your spirit is known in realms you've never even walked through yet. Chosen one. There are people who mistreated you until they had a dream. They gossiped, lied, or played you small until they woke up with their heart pounding and the image of your eyes etched into their memory. They don't tell you, of course. Their pride won't let them. But their behavior shifts. Suddenly they're quiet around you, or overly polite, or strangely distant. Why? Because they saw something. Something they can't explain. Something they were never meant to see. But God allowed it so they would stop treating you like you're ordinary. And in that moment of revelation, a spiritual line was drawn. After that dream, they couldn't approach you the same, whether they became more respectful or more afraid. The shift was set in motion. They had been given a glimpse of your true spiritual stature, and no matter how much they pretend they didn't, they know now. God saw to that. This is also why your presence sometimes causes others to act strangely, even when you haven't said a word. It's not always because of something you did. It's what your spirit represents. Your spirit reminds them of what they've ignored in themselves. Your frequency exposes what they've buried, and your light triggers what their shadow hoped to keep hidden. Dreams are just the most undeniable proof of that reaction. When they dream of you, their soul is responding honestly, without filters. Have you ever felt the energy shift the moment you walk into a room? Have you ever sensed someone staring at you like they were trying to figure you out? That's the spiritual dissonance in action. They felt your energy before, maybe in a dream, maybe in passing. But their spirit remembers. And when your identity has already been revealed to them supernaturally, they can't treat you the same, even if they try. And I want to tell you something crucial. Chosen one. Those dreams are not just revelations to others, they are divine protection over your life. God sometimes gives people warning dreams before they attempt to hurt you. He gives them a peek at your angels. He lets them feel the fire around your calling. And suddenly, they feel uneasy doing what they were planning to do. Their spirit stops them. The fear of touching something sacred rises up. That's not coincidence, that's spiritual enforcement. This is why some enemies back off without explanation. Why some people who used to slander you just go silent. Why certain attacks against you mysteriously fall through. Because God showed them something. And they knew, even if they didn't understand the full picture. That messing with you would be stepping into dangerous territory. You may never know how many plots fell apart, how many traps failed, simply because someone had a dream that woke them up trembling. And maybe even now, someone is dreaming about you, seeing you rise in glory, walk in victory, speak with fire, or stand beside warriors of light. That's not flattery. That's your truth. That's the reality your soul already carries. And the beautiful thing is, God is only getting started. You are still unfolding into your full self. And as you continue walking forward, there will be more dreams, more revelations, more confirmations, not just for others to see, but for you to believe. Because, chosen one, your identity is not a secret in the heavens. It's only been hidden on earth for now. Now let's talk about why they were afraid. Why, after that dream, their whole perception of you shifted, not in the way you might expect. It wasn't admiration. It wasn't curiosity. It was fear. Raw, unspoken fear. And not because you threatened them in any physical sense. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't challenge them directly. You didn't even know the dream happened. But their spirit reacted with trembling. Because what they saw wasn't you as they've known you, it was you as you truly are. Unveiled, anointed, untouchable. And that kind of presence, it shakes people to their core. In the spiritual realm, masks don't exist. Pretense doesn't stand. So when God reveals your divine authority in someone's dream, it bypasses all the games they play in waking life. There's no pretending you're average when they've seen you clothed in power. No pretending you're just nice or sensitive when they've witnessed your spiritual armor. And that's the thing, they may never have respected you publicly. But the dream shattered that illusion. Now, they walk around knowing, and that knowing haunts them. Fear comes when people realize they've misjudged someone who was sent by God. And that fear is not always rational. Sometimes they can't even explain it to themselves. All they know is that something about you unsettles them now. Your presence feels different. Your voice carries weight. Your silence feels louder than others' words. It's like the dream awakened something they weren't ready to confront, and now, even in waking life, that revelation follows them. You didn't change. You just got revealed. And once truth is revealed, It doesn't go back to sleep. Chosen one. You need to understand that your power makes some people uncomfortable, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because their soul recognizes the light you carry, and their darkness doesn't know how to process it. That's why the fear rises. That's why the trembling begins. It's not about you personally. It's about what you represent. You are evidence of the supernatural, living proof that the divine walks among us. And that's terrifying for someone who's built their world around ego, control, and illusion. You are a reminder that there's a higher power at play, that some things can't be explained away, that purpose is real, that calling is real, and that God still chooses people to carry his fire. Imagine being someone who mocked you, belittled you, competed with you, and then dreaming of you standing on a mountain, clothed in radiant light, declaring truth that shakes the ground. Imagine waking up from that, heart pounding, hands shaking, spirit confused. That's not a peaceful revelation. That's a divine confrontation. It challenges everything they thought they knew about you and everything they thought they knew about themselves. Some even try to laugh it off, to dismiss the dream as weird, random, nothing to think too deeply about. But the spirit won't let it go. The image lingers, the feeling stays. And that's when the fear settles in, not just fear of you, but fear of what that dream means. Because deep down, they realize that if you're who God says you are, then they're going to have to reckon with how they've treated you. That's a heavy thing to carry. This is where spiritual conviction comes in, without you ever saying a word. Some people are now battling guilt, shame, or spiritual confusion because of a dream. They remember the look in your eyes from that dream. They remember the energy in the room when you appeared. They remember the way their spirit felt when they saw you walk in. Silent but powerful. They remember angels flanking you. They remember being unable to move or speak in your presence. And that memory keeps pressing on their soul. That's why some people start avoiding you altogether. Not out of hate, but out of unresolved fear. Because you've become more than just a person to them. You've become a mirror. And in that mirror, they're forced to see the contrast between where they are and where you're going, between who they pretend to be and who you authentically are. And chosen one, you didn't ask for this. You didn't chase it. But the calling you carry brings this with it. When God chooses someone to walk in sacred power, that person becomes a disruption to the status quo. Not through arrogance, not through aggression, but through pure presence. Think of Daniel in the Bible, thrown into the lion's den not because he was loud, but because he was loyal. His spirit irritated the darkness around him. His unwavering faith exposed the corruption in others. He was simply being himself, and it stirred up enough fear to warrant exile. But even in the den, his spirit remained untouched. Why? Because heaven had already sealed his protection. The same goes for you. They saw you in the dream not as a threat, but as a revelation, a living disruption to the illusion they'd been living in. And now that they've seen who you really are, they can't pretend not to know. That's where the fear comes from. Not because you harmed them, but because your anointing reminded them that God is real. And He is watching. Sometimes the greatest form of spiritual warfare is not an attack, but a revelation. And God revealed you. He let your enemies see you shining in your destiny. He let the doubters witness your favor. He let the manipulators behold your protection. not to mock them, but to warn them and to confirm you. Now, they're left trembling not from nightmares, but from the knowledge that they were wrong about you, that they spoke against someone who is divinely covered, that they tried to sabotage someone chosen by heaven, that they underestimated a soul that carries ancient power. So don't let their behavior confuse you. Don't let their silence make you question your worth. You already know why they pulled back, why they act distant, why they can't look you in the eye. They saw something, and it scared them. They saw truth, and it shook them. They saw you, and they'll never forget it. There's something powerful that happens when light enters a room where darkness has been reigning unchecked. It doesn't shout, it doesn't boast, it simply is. And in its quiet brilliance, it reveals everything hidden. That's what your spirit does. Chosen one? Without trying, without effort, just by being. You don't realize it, but when you step into someone's life, something shifts. It might not show up in the natural right away, but in the spirit, it's immediate. And if they're not ready, it feels like being exposed. This is why your presence unsettles some people. Even if you're kind, soft-spoken, or gentle, because your energy carries truth, and truth is not always comfortable. It's not always easy to receive. In fact, when someone has been living behind spiritual masks or ego-driven illusions, your presence feels like a mirror and not the flattering kind. It shows them what's broken, what's false, what's been hidden. That's what they saw in the dream. That's what made them wake up with their chest tight and their soul disoriented. They thought they knew you. They thought they had you figured out. Maybe they even thought they were above you. But God shattered that illusion in a single vision. Suddenly, you weren't the quiet one in the background. You weren't the overlooked friend, the underestimated co-worker, the black sheep of the family. In the dream, you were radiant, commanding, carried by a frequency they couldn't measure. And that's what terrified them, not your personality, not your actions, but your essence. Your light confronted their darkness. There's a reason your mere existence feels threatening to some people. And it's not because you're arrogant or loud or aggressive. It's because you live in truth. You walk in alignment. And your life exposes the areas where they've settled for less. Think about Jesus, the most gentle soul to ever walk the earth. And yet, he was hated, feared, rejected. Why? Because his light was too pure for those who had built power on shadows. His truth didn't need violence, it simply was. And that made it all the more threatening. You're the same way. Your very presence is confrontational. But not in the way the world defines confrontation. You don't go around pointing fingers or calling people out. But when you walk in, the temperature changes. Spirits shift. The atmosphere feels different. Not because of you, the person, but because of you, the vessel. The light you carry announces itself before you say a word. And if someone is hiding something, pain, resentment, jealousy, bitterness, falsehood, they feel that light pressing on them in the dream. They couldn't escape it. They felt the weight of your frequency. They felt the presence of heaven that surrounds you. They saw how the shadows recoiled from you. And something in them broke open. That's why they woke up afraid. Not because you attacked them, but because, for the first time, they saw just how much they've been walking in darkness and how effortlessly your light pierced it. This is also why some people act out around you without cause. They accuse you, gossip, spread rumors, create distance. And you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? But the truth is, you didn't do anything. You simply walked in alignment. And that alone triggered everything unhealed in them. Your peace disturbed their chaos. Your clarity disrupted their confusion. Your divine protection threatened the spirit of control they've been clinging to. Chosen one. This world has taught people to fear what they don't understand, and your anointing is not something they can analyze. It's not something they can explain away or categorize neatly. It defies logic. It doesn't fit into their limited narrative. And in the dream, they got a front row seat to that mystery. They witnessed the unfiltered version of you, the one heaven knows. And it made them tremble. Some of them will try to reframe it. Say it was just a dream. Nothing serious. Others might even twist it, paint you as the villain in their own confusion. But deep down, they know the truth, that what they saw wasn't fantasy. It was revelation. It was God's way of confronting them through you. And when the light comes, there are only two choices: run from it or be transformed by it. Unfortunately, most people choose the first, and you've probably felt the consequences. The distancing, the sudden hostility, the strange tension you can't explain. It's not paranoia, it's spiritual. You represent something they can't control, something they can't compete with, and something they can't forget. And instead of confronting their own shadows, they avoid you. But don't let that discourage you. This is part of the cost of being chosen. You weren't designed to fit into the crowd. You were created to shift atmospheres, to awaken the sleeping, to carry divine clarity where there's been spiritual confusion. That's why you've been through what you've been through. That's why your light had to be purified through pain. That's why your discernment is so sharp, your spirit so sensitive. You're not just another person they saw it in their dream. And their spirit has never been the same since. You may not realize it, but your life is a walking testimony. Even when you feel unseen, even when you feel overlooked, even when you feel like no one understands. Heaven sees you. The spirit realm recognizes you. And God is revealing you, piece by piece, dream by dream, moment by moment, not to everyone, just to the ones who need to know, the ones who tried to harm you, the ones who doubted you, the ones who thought you were finished. He's showing them that you were never alone, that your light was never fragile, that your destiny was never up for debate. So when you notice the trembling, the tension, the shift, don't run from it. Stand in it. Walk in your authority. Because if they saw you in a dream and woke up trembling, it means God already went before you. It means you don't need to prove anything. You don't need to fight for respect. You don't need to explain who you are. The truth is already speaking in the spirit. And it speaks louder than words ever could. There is a war happening around you. Chosen one, even when everything looks still on the surface. It's not a war you started, and it's not one you can see with the naked eye. But in the spirit, oh, it's very real. And every time you take a step forward in your calling, every time you align more deeply with truth, that war intensifies. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something right. You've become a target, not because of what you have, but because of what you carry, that dream they had. It was never just about them seeing you. It was a signal of something much larger, a spiritual collision, a disruption, a reckoning. You see, your elevation in the spirit realm doesn't go unnoticed. The forces of light are aware of it, and so are the forces of darkness. The dream was only a glimpse of what's happening every time your feet hit the floor in the morning. Every time you speak life. Every time you choose peace. Every time you refuse to conform to this world's noise. The dream shook them because their soul recognized the battle you're walking through with grace. The dream exposed the spiritual significance of your existence. And maybe they saw angels behind you, or divine light over your head. Maybe they saw chains breaking at your command, or demons fleeing from your presence. Maybe they saw you walking calmly through chaos, untouched. Or maybe, just maybe, they saw themselves trying to attack you and failing. That's the part that left them trembling. Because the truth is, some people have harbored quiet resentment against you. Silent jealousy, subtle competition. You felt it, didn't you? You sensed it in their compliments that came with a twist, in their support that felt half-hearted, in their questions that dug just a little too deep. You sensed something darker beneath the surface, but you stayed gracious. You kept showing up. And God saw it all. So He let them see the real you in a dream, not for your sake, but for theirs. A warning, a spiritual cease and desist. See, dreams are where the spirit realm makes itself known. It's the battleground of truth versus illusion. And when your image shows up there, it's not your face they're reacting to. It's your assignment. It's your authority. That dream became a spiritual declaration. This one belongs to heaven. Proceed with caution. There are moments when you wonder why certain people suddenly turn cold after getting close. Why others seem to retreat right after laughing with you. Why your presence becomes a problem for those who once cheered for you. Let me tell you, it's because something was stirred in the dream realm. They got too close to your frequency. And in the night, their spirit caught a glimpse of what you're really walking with, and what they saw terrified them. It's not you they fear. It's your light, your clarity, your immunity to their manipulation, your divine assignment that places boundaries they can't cross. Because spiritual warfare doesn't always look like chaos and shouting. Sometimes it looks like dreams that disrupt sleep, night visions that uncover motives. God will use their rest to shake their soul awake. Think of Elisha, the prophet, when his servant panicked at the sight of a surrounding army. Elisha prayed, "Lord, open his eyes that he may see." And in that moment, the servant's spiritual eyes were opened, and he saw the mountains full of horses and chariots of fire, surrounding them. That's what happens when people dream about you. Their spiritual eyes are opened, just for a moment, to see what's really standing beside you. And it changes everything. They thought you were vulnerable. They thought you were alone. But in the dream, they saw otherwise. And when they woke up, that fear wasn't about you. It was about what they realized they couldn't control, what they couldn't touch, because the dream revealed something dangerous, not to you. But to them, that messing with you comes with consequences. That your peace isn't weakness, it's warfare. That your silence is backed by heaven's roar. That your calling is protected, not just by people, but by divine forces. This is why you often feel spiritual pressure when you're on the verge of breakthrough. Why sleep becomes difficult. Why warfare seems to intensify without warning. It's because your elevation is making waves in the unseen. You're not just moving through life, you're shifting timelines, breaking generational curses, igniting others just by being who you are. And the spirit realm responds to that. Even your enemies dream about you because the spirit must acknowledge what the flesh tries to deny. And let's be real, some of them won't change. Some will wake up trembling and still choose jealousy, still choose gossip, still try to undermine you. That's okay. The dream wasn't just to change them. It was to confirm you. It was God's way of saying, "You are who I said you are." Let no one treat you like anything less, even if they reject the message. The warning was delivered. The truth was spoken. Heaven keeps the receipt. So if you've ever felt like you're fighting battles that make no sense, like you're dodging attacks you didn't provoke, like people are warring with something invisible around you, this is why. You are the battlefield. You are the sacred territory. And every step you take is reclaiming ground for the kingdom. You may not see it, but in the spirit, your obedience is shaking foundations and dreams. Those are just the ripples, the aftershocks of your presence echoing through dimensions. And when people see you in that state, in alignment, in power, in favor, it reveals everything. It unsettles every unclean spirit. And it calls forth the truth in every soul that's been pretending not to see. So the next time you feel the strange tension from someone who once smiled with ease, remember, they saw something. And they'll never unsee it. They may not understand it fully. They may not like it. But they know. And that knowledge has shifted how they engage with you. Not because you're unpredictable, but because your destiny is, and heaven never hides destiny for long. Every chosen one walks in a pattern that echoes through time. What you're going through, being misunderstood, feared, even attacked for no apparent reason, this isn't new. It's ancient. The moment God places His hand on someone, the world around them begins to respond. Spiritually, energetically, subconsciously. And this response isn't random, it's scripted. It's divine pattern playing out in real time. That's why what they saw in that dream wasn't just about you, it was about what you represent. You are a thread in a tapestry that includes prophets, kings, warriors, and outcasts who shook kingdoms without ever raising a sword. You're not the first one who caused people to tremble in their sleep. You're not the first one who walked quietly, but carried something terrifying to the kingdom of darkness. Joseph was thrown into a pit by his brothers after he shared a dream that revealed his elevation, a dream that made them uncomfortable. And even though he meant no harm, that vision of his future made others feel small. That's what happens when your destiny shows up before it manifests in the natural. It offends the insecurity in others. It disturbs the spirits clinging to false authority. The very idea of Joseph rising triggered betrayal. But in the end, that dream came true. And you, chosen one, are no different. Your future already speaks in the spirit. Your mission is already being seen before it's fully walked out. That's why God allows dreams about you to circulate, because your identity is not something man assigned. It was heaven ordained. And heaven never calls someone without revealing the impact of that call. Think about Daniel, a man so spiritually in tune that kings consulted him for dream interpretations. He wasn't loud, he wasn't forceful, but his connection to the divine made him a threat to systems of power. Just knowing what he knew made others uncomfortable. He carried truth in his spirit like a flame, and even though they threw him into a den of lions, the lions couldn't touch him. Why? Because purpose protects the chosen, because God had already revealed his destiny, and no enemy plot could undo it. That's you. You carry ancient resonance. You walk with the imprint of those who came before you. And when people dream of you, it's not just a glimpse into who you are. It's a reverberation of the ones who came before. You are the modern echo of prophets, intercessors, kings, and warriors who walked so closely with God that even their shadow made people tremble. And what's even deeper is this: the fear others feel after dreaming about you isn't just fear of you. It's fear of what your presence forces them to confront. Their own disobedience, their stagnation, their compromise. Because if God is elevating you, then it challenges every excuse they've made for why they haven't moved forward. Your spiritual visibility is convicting, even in dreams. There's a reason Moses glowed after coming down from the mountain. He had been in God's presence, and the people were afraid to look at him. Not because he'd done something wrong, but because they could no longer deny the truth on him. You, chosen one, have that same glow. It may not be visible to the eye, but in the spirit. It radiates, it pulses, it speaks. And when people come into contact with that frequency, especially in dreams, they realize just how deeply you're walking with the divine. But that awareness doesn't always lead to repentance. Sometimes it leads to resistance. They saw you in the dream, healing others, standing in the fire untouched, speaking with authority, or being crowned in the presence of those who once dismissed you, and their ego didn't know how to handle it. So instead of honoring what they saw, they recoil, they distance. They try to reassert the illusion that you're just like everyone else. But their soul knows better now. The dream told the truth, and that truth has set something in motion they can't reverse. Here's what you need to hold on to: the more spiritually elevated you become, the more your journey will mirror the greats. Not because you're trying to imitate them, but because the pattern of the anointed is always the same. First comes obscurity, then revelation, then resistance, then vindication. You're not doing anything wrong by standing in your light. You're doing everything right. And God is using dreams to ensure that even your enemies are informed of that. Some of them saw your calling and couldn't sleep afterward. Others felt sick. Some were gripped with guilt. A few even tried to pray the vision away, to deny what they'd seen. But the Spirit won't let it go. Because once heaven confirms something, it doesn't ask for agreement. It simply is. And when God confirms a chosen one, he does it in a way that cannot be erased. That's what these dreams are. You might never hear the details. They might never admit it. But you'll feel it. In how they change. In how they treat you. In the respect they try to mask with sarcasm. In the sudden caution that wasn't there before. Some might suddenly speak blessings over you. Others might turn cold. But either way, the shift is evidence of the vision. The dream left a mark. And let me say this, you don't need their approval to walk in what was already revealed. Don't shrink because their fear makes them uncomfortable. Don't apologize for being who God created you to be. Don't dim your light just because it exposes what others would rather ignore. You were never meant to make everyone comfortable. You were meant to awaken, to disrupt, to lead. When you walk into the room now, There's a silence, a tension, a shift. You've noticed it, and you wondered why. It's because you're not just someone they recognize, you're someone they remember. From the dream, from that night their spirit met yours in the unseen. From that revelation that shook them to their knees, and even if they forget your words, they won't forget that vision. They won't forget how they felt when your light hit them unfiltered. They won't forget what God whispered to their soul as you stood before them cloaked in truth, crowned in purpose, untouchable by lies. They may walk away confused, but you walk away confirmed. By now, chosen one. They know. They may never speak it aloud. They may never confess what they saw. But deep in their soul, the truth lingers like a scent they can't wash off. They saw you, in glory, in authority, in light that was not of this world. And though they tried to pretend otherwise, they can't forget. The dream carved a mark on their consciousness. It cracked through their illusions and let in just enough divine light to expose what they had refused to see when you were right in front of them. They know who you are now. They might smile in your face. They might keep up appearances. But watch their eyes. Watch their body language. Watch how carefully they move around you now. There's a new calculation in their energy, a hesitation, a reverence, sometimes even a recoil. That's not fear of you, per se. That's fear of the divine stamp on you. It's fear of what God revealed. Fear of the consequences of treating you casually when heaven has made it clear this one is not to be touched. This is the moment where your discernment has to go deeper than ever before. Because not everyone who has been given the revelation will respond the right way. Some will attempt to cling tighter, to get close for the wrong reasons, to siphon your light, to flatter you into spiritual sleep. Others will turn cold, withholding warmth as a way of regaining control. But don't be deceived. The game changed the moment they saw you in the dream, and it wasn't just one person. It never is. These revelations often happen in waves. Several people across your life, maybe even strangers, are given similar dreams, similar visions. Because heaven is announcing your identity, not just to your enemies, but to the spirit realm at large. It's part of the unveiling. And with that unveiling comes divine protection. Now, they may not say it, but they're moving differently. Some are praying for forgiveness quietly. Others are watching you like you might sprout wings at any moment. And a few are planning, trying to reassert themselves in your life, so they won't be left out when the elevation manifests. It's subtle, but it's there. And you, chosen one, must now walk with even more spiritual maturity. Because once people know, their responsibility changes. Before the dream, they could play ignorance. They could say, I didn't know you were chosen. I didn't realize you carried that. But after the dream, after the encounter, they know. So now, what they do with that knowledge reveals their heart. Will they honor you? Will they submit their ego? Will they support what God is doing in you? Even if it makes them feel small, some will, some won't, and that's okay. Your mission has never been to convince, but to carry the assignment, to carry the light, to walk in the truth, even if it makes others uncomfortable. You were never called to comfort people's shadows. You were called to be a contrast, a living reminder that purpose is real. And God still anoints. Remember when Jesus cast out demons. and the demons begged him not to torment them. That wasn't about physical strength, it was about spiritual presence. His very existence was a threat to the structures they had built. He didn't have to say a word. The light he carried spoke first. You, too, carry that kind of weight. That's why some people react so strongly to you. That's why they flinch spiritually in your presence. You don't even know it. But your frequency is breaking agreements they've made in secret. Your aura is unsettling compromises they've gotten comfortable with. And in the dream, they felt that disruption tenfold. Some of them tried to brush it off. Just a weird dream. But their body remembered. Their soul knew better. That trembling they felt when they saw you dressed in white, that pressure in their chest when they saw you walking through fire untouched, that couldn't be explained away. And now, every time they see you in waking life, something in them stirs, a flash of recognition, a spiritual déjà vu. Because you are not who you once were, and they know it, even if they try to act the same. Even if they keep calling you by your old name. Even if they pretend the dream never happened. They know. They saw something that can't be unseen. They experienced a divine truth, and now they're left to wrestle with it. And you no longer need to question their behavior. You don't have to overthink the strange shift, the silence, the sudden coldness or awkward praise. Now you know what happened. God showed them something. He gave them a glimpse of you through his eyes, and what they saw shook them to their core. That was confirmation. Not just of your identity, but of your protection, your assignment, your covering. The dream may have come to them, but the message was about you. And while they might forget the details, they'll never forget the impact. That's how divine encounters work. They leave residue. And when your name is mentioned now, when your presence is felt, when your face flashes in their mind, it's not just a memory. It's a reminder of what they saw. Some will honor you in secret now. Some will pray for you quietly, finally realizing who you've been all along. Others will continue to resist, to act out, to pretend they didn't see anything at all. But don't let that shake you. Because the dream wasn't to make you arrogant, it was to make you aware. Aware that you're not hidden, not dismissed, not forgotten. You've been revealed. So walk like someone whose identity has been witnessed in the spirit. Move like someone who doesn't need the world's validation, because heaven already made the announcement. You don't have to convince anyone anymore. God already showed them, and now they can't unsee it. They can't unfeel it. They can't go back to who they were before that dream, because once you've encountered a chosen one in the spirit, everything changes. And now, chosen one, you walk not in confusion, but in confirmation. Everything that once made you question yourself, the stares, the sudden coldness, the unexplained shifts in people's behavior makes sense now. Doesn't it? You've spent so long wondering if it was all in your head, if you were being too sensitive, too intense, too spiritual. But now, the pieces come together. They weren't reacting to what you said. They were responding to what they saw in the spirit, in that dream, in that moment when heaven pulled back the veil and revealed your true identity. You are not crazy. You are called. God allowed them to see who you are, not to feed your ego, but to anchor your faith, to remove all doubt from your path, Because when you walk with this kind of weight, this kind of calling, you will always attract both awe and attack. Your very existence challenges the false narratives others have built their lives around. Your light becomes a spotlight. Your truth becomes a mirror. And for those not ready to confront what lies within, that's terrifying. But for you, it's freedom. Because now you no longer need to explain, no longer need to convince, no longer need to ask for what you already carry. The room already knows, even if no one says it. The spirit world already announced you. The enemy already recognizes you. The atmosphere has already shifted in your presence, and all because God showed them this journey was never meant to be comfortable. The chosen path is narrow, marked by spiritual warfare, internal refinement, and quiet victories that no one sees. But it is also marked by glory, by divine backup, by moments when heaven says, "This one is mine," and the world is forced to take notice. That dream was one of those moments, one of many to come. Let their silence confirm what their mouths will never admit they know. Let their sudden caution remind you that they've seen something, that your spirit disrupted their slumber, that your assignment shook their understanding. And now, whether they draw near or distance themselves, they do so with awareness. They may still try to test you, but their spirit remembers what their mind tries to forget. Walk with your head high. Chosen one, not in pride, but in knowing. You're not just moving through this life by chance. You're walking under divine instruction. You are being announced in realms beyond this one. You are being revealed not through social media, not through platform, but through spirit, through dreams, through encounters, through supernatural evidence that can't be dismissed or erased. And if God is showing others who you are, it's because He's preparing to show you who you are next. On a deeper level, in a way you cannot deny. Don't be surprised when more people begin to see dreams, when more testimonies surface, when you begin to feel a fresh weight of glory on your life. You're stepping into the next chapter. And this time, you're not wondering. You're walking in it. So don't water yourself down to make others comfortable. Don't retreat just because their fear grew louder than their love. Well, don't apologize for being chosen. They've seen who you are now. And now, so have you. Chosen one. Slow your heart. Take a breath. Close your eyes if you can. I want you to hear this. Not just with your ears, but with your spirit. You are not here by accident. Every twist in your path, every delay, every rejection was divine positioning. And now, God is bringing everything into the light. No longer will you walk uncertain. No longer will you hide your brilliance to ease the discomfort of those around you. The veil has been lifted, and the realm of spirit has recognized your name. Yes, they saw you in a dream. Yes, they trembled, not because you caused harm, but because your spirit carries truth, and truth, when revealed, shakes foundations. They feared what they saw because they realized what they had overlooked, misunderstood, or mishandled. But you are still here, covered, anointed, rising. So I declare this over you now. You are seen by heaven. You are protected by divine forces. You are stepping into your season of boldness, alignment, and revelation. And nothing formed against you shall prosper. Let the dreams speak. Let the Spirit testify. Let the trembling of others be the confirmation your soul has waited for. God has made it plain. You are chosen. And from this moment forward, may you walk like it. If this spoke to your soul, share it. Let another chosen one be reminded of their divine identity. Like, subscribe, comment below, and declare they saw me in the dream. And I'm still rising. God bless you.